What I want to get squared away now is this Explore Movies sliding menu. There are a number of jQuery plugins that do this function. I mean, if you just go slide, um, yeah, slide navigation, here we go. We see, oh, look at this one. I haven't seen this one. Big Slides JS, here's an option. Um, like I, Sentia, blah, blah, blah. You get what I'm going for over here. There's a lot of these guys that are doing it. The one that I picked that I liked using was Slidebars, and let's see, here we go, the Slidebars project. And this one, how do I pick which one I want to use if it has the sort of options I want? That's cool. It does have the core functionality, obviously. And is it lightweight? So yes, yes, and yes. And that's why I picked slide bars, and that's what we're going to use now. First order of business is actually to go and see exactly how we use it. Now, all these things, depending on when you find different plugins, you'll find various qualities of instructions on there, and those are sort of major. That's one of the major things that I find clearly helpful to use them. So Slidebar was good, not great, but good. So let's walk through it. So very first thing you need to do is to download it. Now I have a version right here that I provide, and when we look inside of the slide bars, we see we have a couple of things already. Examples would be one of the first interesting places to look at. Here we go. When you click on these things, oh, here you are. It shows you how these things give you some usage examples, which is always helpful because you follow the instructions and sometimes you have to look at the actual code to see how it's set up. Okay, as we walk through the instructions, besides downloading it, the very first thing I want you to do is add the meta viewport tag to your page. Now, we already have that set because by default, boilerplate provides us with that, so we're good to go in that regard. Their viewport declaration is slightly different than ours. I tell you, I don't think. Well, I know it's not going to affect it because I've done this before. But when you're doing using other plugins on your own, just make like a mental note that you didn't copy the exact instructions. Because really, half the battle, if not 90% of the battle with these plugins, is following their instructions to the T. We make note that we didn't use their viewport exactly because we already have it. So if things aren't working the way we want them to, this would be a place to go back and check out. The second part of the instructions over here is wrap your entire page design in an element with the ID SB-site. Now, what's happening over here, you got to think that when you click this whole thing, this whole pink bar and white bottom is getting shifted by this slide menu. So when they say put the entire site design, put everything that would be shifting to the right within that container. Now, I guess what I'm saying is this thing has the flexibility that when I click Explore Movies, everything is getting moved over, right? But if I actually wanted, for example, this menu to be below, and then when you click, everything except the banner over here moves, then I wouldn't put that in there. But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the full-on effect like this to move it all over. So I'm actually going to have to add some code, HTML, to my page over here. And I want to wrap everything that's going to be hidden over there within that tag. So let me go div container, and well, why don't I just copy and paste what they have over here. So wrap everything up in this guy. Works for me. And I pop that in there, and I want to close it down at the very end. And then I'll do that, and then I'm going to just say that I ended that tag with the old / over here. Here we go. Okay. Nothing should be happening yet on my live page because I just added that basically generic div container that doesn't do much. Okay, but so far so good. Create elements for your slide bars and give them a base class of SB-slider. So what the author is referring to is this. So I already have this set up, right? Because it's my navigation element. So SB.slidebar. Okay. Okay, so this is what it's saying. I don't know what this is about yet. Well, I do, but I don't know what it's about yet as per the directions. So what I'm going to do, instead of creating a new div container, my navigation menu is already in the nav element. So why, or my slide bar stuff is already in there. So that theoretically should do it. Okay. What's next? Set the side of your sidebars by adding modifier classes. And here's one of the things that attracted me to this slide bars that was so easy to use. We have modifier classes. If we add SB left, like we have here to the menu, it's going to roll in from the left, like so. And I believe something like this. This thing, actually, if I inspect this element, I suspect that, yeah, here we go. Navbar right seems a little bit different than what he's doing, but I don't know, he's the author. Maybe he's customizing it, which is it's kind of silly, I think, because oftentimes when you're trying to figure this stuff out, you're looking at it from how they implemented it. But the long and short of it is that these things give you options on which way you want to go. So whether you want it from the left or from the right. We want it from the left. So I like sidebar left, and this lets me know that this modifier class that they're referring to goes in there just like that. So let me go back over here. Okay, slide bar, that's the one I wanted to slide in from the left. Cool. That was number 3. Number 4, oh, no, there you go. Number 4 was set the modifier classes. Yep, okay. So that says, well, that's a little confusing, but okay. So, wait. Set the side by the modifier classes. Yeah, I thought I'm going crazy. Okay. So then it says number 5, add control classes to elements to use the sidebar. And okay. Now I see he's sort of did the numbering wrong over here. So this is more important than it seems. Check this out. We have our navigation our navigation menu right over here. As soon as we initiate this plugin, if it's like this, all of that content's going to be hidden, and we need the controller class over here. The controller class is something that actually is the something that you click on, the element that you click on that initiates this behavior, right? So we have to add some new stuff to our menu over here. Some new stuff to our HTML to actually have an element that we could click on. So, oh, and it has to be out. Well, it doesn't have to be, but let's see. Yeah, it doesn't have to be outside of this SB class over here, but as you see from mine, this thing isn't getting shifted like theirs. Ours is going to be set, you know, and well, actually, maybe we will put it in there. Sorry, I'm talking a little bit. Maybe we reorder it, not as I did essentially in that one, but we could do it all the same. So we have this SB in the site, and this is where all our site stuff is. So let's add something outside of this, because this is going to be hidden now. Let's go div, and we'll do, let's see, div ID equals nav manager. All right, and then the class is going to be that SB. So this is the one that we need to actually, the one that's going to tell us where it's toggling from. Let me go BEPS. Let's see. Controller classes, because this is going to make our thing click. Can be used to toggle the left sidebar. So this is working in conjunction with where we want the sidebar to be toggled from. So what I'm going to have to do then is add that class to that element that I made. So let's go like so. Class, there you go. And up. And we'll put an H2 in here that says explore movies. Let's take a peek at what we got so far. All right, that's going to be what's going to do our thing. So where else are we in this process? If we go back up, so control classes. Okay, now we actually need to include the sidebar JavaScript and CSS. So let's take our sidebar stuff, and in here in development we have both the sidebar CSS and JS files. In our boilerplate we have, well, first our CSS folder, and I'm going to take it and drag it in there, and then I'll bring it back and go into my JS folder, my JavaScript, and slide this in there like so. And now we're going to include it in our document. Now, important when you include this CSS that it goes in the right order. CSS and JavaScript cascade, so keep that in mind. Our main.css is our custom CSS. That's where we're defining all of our styles. So that has to be the last guy included. Normalize is our normalizer reset. So that has to be the first thing that's included. So wedged in the middle over there should be some of these other things that we're including. Let me go back. Since I'm at the CSS section, I have slidebars.css, and I put that right in here, slidebars.css. Awesome. Then when I scroll down to JavaScript, just to iterate that point again, we have plugins.js. This is something specific to boilerplate. We'll discuss that later on. But main.js is where we're going to be adding our own custom JavaScript. So because our JavaScript is, well, let's just say our own JavaScript is going to be jQuery. So we're dependent on jQuery to be called before our own JavaScript is called. So that's why the very first thing we have here is the looking for jQuery through the CDN, and the backup to that is the local version that we have. After that, we have this plugins. Again, it's a boilerplate thing, but right after the plugins and before main.css, wedged in the middle, is where we need to add our scripts. So here we go, or rather add our plugin scripts. So I'm going to do that. Go in here. Okay, there you have it. At this point, before I even bother initiating the CSS, I do like to just double check that my code is in there. Oh, look at that. I reset it. So by virtue of adding that sidebar business, it did hide it, but we don't really have hit our menu, but we don't have anything in there. Actually, this tells me already that we're good to go. But I like to view source and just open in a new window. You know what I'm doing here? Making sure before I start monkeying around with the code and pulling my hair out on why it may work or not work, I want to make sure that I'm linking correctly. I just do this to make my life a little bit easier. Okay, that's all good, but now let's get this bad boy to work. There is a final step over here, which is, okay, call the Slidebar method. So most, if not all, plugins actually want you to, after you've added them, to initiate them, fire them up, So let's see what, let me go back up top and see what he's talking about. And okay, he's saying this is what we need to add in our main.js file. He's got this whole function wrapper over here, which we don't need. We just need the nice and familiar document ready function that we initiate. So let's go into our folder with the stuff. We have JS, we have main, right, because that's the last one we have, and here we plug it in, and the author seems to think that this is going to work for us. Let's give it a refresh, and very cool, very cool. So clearly there's some issues over here that we're going to have to mess with, but we at least know that it's working. The next step that I would do is try to manipulate this, because that is not the greatest, and I think the issue is that we have all of that stuff wrapped up in there. So what I am going to do, rather, it said that the whole site design is in there. We want this thing to be outside of that. So it's always sitting there, up at the top and never a part of all that. So I suspect I can just take this entire div container, and I'm going to move it out of the very first thing that it said with the content where we had it. Their implementation was slightly different, but this works for ours. And now, if I give it a re-go, we almost have it working at this point. I mean, well, it's working, but there's something off. So obviously we don't want all this. And when I go back to Slidebar and I sort of, let me just go back to inspect, and I check out, I just didn't think, I don't think rather that I looked at this close enough, because it says wrap your entire page design in an element, which is this SB site. So if I look here, I'm going to see, okay, here's his SB site, and now I notice that his navigation menu over here for everything that's in the hidden section here is actually not within that element, right? Let's see if I sort of dig deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, I'll actually find the elements in there. And anyway, yeah, here they are. So now I see that he's actually kept his navigation outside of this element right over here, this SB dash site. So these guys need to sit outside of this element. So my option is, I could just take this entire div container here and put it under main. And let's see, that should do it now. Okay. That's cool. Sort of presents a different problem. Oops. And that's that it now covers it, but we'll deal with that in a bit.